For a long time, Marvel was on top of the cinematic universe game. After all, this is the studio that turned a B-list lineup into the biggest franchise on Earth and pulled off one connected story across more than 20 movies. It even gave us a finale as massive as Endgame. But somewhere along the line, modern Marvel started losing that edge, and nothing exposed that more than its handling of the multiverse. Between Loki, the whole Kang experiment, No Way Home, and Multiverse of Madness, the very idea that was supposed to define an entire era just kept getting messier and emptier. Meanwhile, Sony's Spider-Verse took that exact same concept and turned it into some of the best superhero storytelling we've gotten in years. So today, let's break down what Spider-Verse understands about the multiverse that the MCU doesn't. The multiverse as a theme. Starting with the foundation, because everything else grows out of it. The multiverse in Spider-Verse was never a gimmick bolted onto an existing story. The whole franchise was built from the ground up around a single idea: that anyone can be Spider-Man. Miles Morales spends both films trying to believe he's worthy of the mask, that a kid from Brooklyn who isn't the real Peter Parker can still be the hero. The multiverse isn't a plot device sitting next to that theme. The multiverse is how that theme gets proven. Every other Spider-Person Miles meets is living evidence that the mask doesn't belong to one specific guy. A pregnant Spider-Woman, a black and white detective, an anime girl in a mech, a literal cartoon pig. They're all Spider-Man, which is exactly the thing the movie is trying to say about Miles. The concept and the meaning are the same thing, so the more the film leans into that multiverse, the louder its actual point gets. By the end of the first film, when Miles finally takes the leap of faith and drops off a skyscraper in a suit he stitched together himself, the multiverse has done its entire job. It spent the whole movie parading every kind of Spider-Man in front of him, so that he could stop imitating them and become the one version only he could be. Now, to be fair, the MCU's first real swing at this, No Way Home, is a genuinely good time, and I'd argue it's the most emotionally effective use of the multiverse Marvel has managed. Watching Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield come back and share the screen is a blast, and both actors make a full meal out of every scene they're handed.
I was in the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yeah.
That's great!
Thank you.
What is that?
Wait, you don't have the Avengers?
Is that a band? Are you in a band?
So I'm not here to tell you that it doesn't work as an experience, but look at what the multiverse is actually doing in that movie. It was reverse engineered. The story didn't start with a theme that needed a multiverse. It started with a wish list. Get the old villains back, get the old Spider-Man back, and the multiverse was an explanation invented afterward to justify the reunion. The engine of the film isn't an idea, it's nostalgia. And nostalgia is a feeling, not a theme. It can make you cry in the theater and leave you with nothing to think about on the drive home. Spider-Verse uses the multiverse to say something about identity and worth. No Way Home uses it to say, remember this guy? Both can make you feel something in the moment. Only one of them is still about something once the rush wears off. And that gap is the whole reason one of these movies gets richer on a rewatch, while the other gets thinner. The rules. A multiverse only works if it has rules, because infinite possibility with no limits is just noise, and noise has no stakes. So look at the rules each franchise built, because this is where the two of them split completely. Something genuinely fascinating happened with both of them. They landed on the exact same core concept at almost the same time. The idea that your path is fixed and you're not allowed to change it. And across the Spider-Verse, it's called canon events. The fixed tragic moments that supposedly have to happen in every Spider-Person's life, or their whole universe falls apart. In the MCU, it's the sacred timeline, the single approved path the Time Variance Authority prunes you for stepping off of. Same idea, told twice. Watch what each one does with it. Spider-Verse aims that idea straight at the heart of its main character. Miles learns that his own father is supposed to die.
Spot does it. He kills him.
The multiverse is demanding the worst moment of his life as the price of keeping everything stable, and that every other Spider-Man in the room has quietly accepted this is the cost of the job.
If not for Uncle Ben, most of us wouldn't be here, Miles. And all the good we did, it wouldn't have been done.
So the rule isn't trivia, the rule is the conflict. Miles rejecting his canon event is him deciding that he gets to author his own story, instead of accepting a fate handed to him by a system that calls his pain necessary.
Everyone keeps telling me how my story is supposed to go. Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
The rule means something because it costs the hero everything he loves.
Being Spider-Man is a sacrifice. That's the job.
Spider-Verse even stacks a second rule on top of that one. Anyone who crosses into the wrong dimension starts to glitch, their body flickering because reality itself knows they don't belong.
You stay in this dimension too long, your body's gonna disintegrate.
And that glitch is the exact thread Miles pulls to figure out he might be the single biggest anomaly in the whole web. The rule doesn't just sit there as lore, It generates the mystery. And to give the MCU its due, its version started strong. Loki's first season had a real philosophical hook, the idea that free will itself was against the rules, and for a while, it looked like Marvel was about to do something bold with it. But it took that premise and slowly turned it into paperwork. The sacred timeline in the TVA became an org chart, and the drama got buried under exposition about pruning and procedure and who's secretly running the agency. Worse, the MCU can't keep its own rules straight. Endgame tells you changing the past creates a new branch timeline. Loki tells you those branches get erased. The same show says the smallest deviation triggers total erasure, then lets its villain hide inside apocalypses where nothing he does supposedly counts. Multiverse of Madness tells you America Chavez is the only being in infinite realities who could travel between universes.
I can travel the multiverse.
What? You can physically move from one universe to another? Mm-hmm. How?
That's a problem. I don't know how. Can't control it. Only happens when I'm really, really afraid.
A sentence that collapses the moment you think about the word infinite. The rules change from project to project because they were never built to mean anything. They were built to let the next cameo happen. And the deeper the story dug, the more bureaucratic it got. Loki's second season spends its entire runtime on the upkeep of a machine called the Temporal Loom and ends with Loki sitting on a throne, physically holding the timelines together by hand. It's a gorgeous image, and it's still the multiverse reduced to infrastructure. The whole appeal of a multiverse is meeting other versions of people you love. So the real test is simple. When a variant shows up, does it change the hero? Or is it just there to wave at the camera? Spider-Verse passes that test with nearly every variant it introduces. Peter B. Parker isn't a cameo. He's a broken, divorced, washed-up Spider-Man who failed at the Peter Parker side of his life.
I broke my back, a drone flew into my face, I buried Aunt May, my wife and I split up. But I handled it like a champion. Because you know what? No matter how many times I get hit, I always get back up.
And he mentors Miles precisely because he's a mess and recognizes the kid still has the hope he lost. They fix each other. Gwen isn't a female Peter reskin. She's a fully realized character, carrying her own version of the same grief over a friend she couldn't save.
I couldn't save my best friend, Peter Parker. So now I save everyone else.
And Across goes even further. Miguel O'Hara is a dark mirror to Miles, a Spider-Man so consumed by loss and order that he'll let a child's father die to keep the system intact.
You can't ask me not to save my father.
I'm not asking.
Miguel, just give him the second.
Then there's Earth 42, where Miles meets the version of himself that never got bitten, whose Uncle Aaron is still alive, and who grew up to become the Prowler.
I'm Miles Morales. But you can call me the Prowler.
That isn't fan service. That's the multiverse used to show Miles the exact person he could have been. And it's genuinely terrifying because it's still him. And the scale never swallows the character. Across drops Miles into a spider society of thousands of variants and refuses to treat them as wallpaper. It turns the entire crowd against him. Every Spider-Man he ever idolized suddenly convinced he's the mistake that has to be corrected, so the multiverse stops being a playground and becomes the thing isolating him. The MCU, give it credit, occasionally gets close. The three Peters in No Way Home have a warm, believable sibling energy, and that dinner scene is lovely.
Kind of expect disappointment.
Because then you'll never actually be disappointed.
Yeah, right. It's just, I don't know, it just kind of feels different this time for some reason.
But even there, the older two are mostly a support group for Tom Holland, sounding boards who already did their growing off screen before they ever showed up. And the second you step outside that one film, the pattern gets bleak. Multiverse of Madness introduces a team of beloved variants. Mr. Fantastic, Captain Carter, Professor X, and then kills them off within minutes as a power demonstration for Wanda. Deadpool and Wolverine turns the multiverse into a parade of nostalgia cameos, characters wheeled out for applause, and wheeled right back off.
Oh my God, he's gonna say it!
Say what?
Avengers! Flame on!
Sorry, what?
These are appearances, not characters. They exist to be recognized, not to matter. Spider-Verse uses other versions of its heroes to push the real one forward. The MCU mostly uses them as a highlight reel of intellectual property it happens to own, and an audience can feel that difference, even when it can't quite name it. The multiverse you can actually see. This one's the most obvious, and it's somehow the one the MCU never solved. If you're telling me these characters came from radically different realities, I should be able to see it.
That little spell that you botched where you wanted everyone to forget the Peter Parker Spider-Man, it started pulling in everyone who knows Peter Parker Spider-Man from every universe into this one.
Spider-Verse makes the multiverse a visual experience. Every reality has its own art style, its own physics, even its own frame rate. Spider-Man Noir exists in smeared black and white and doesn't understand color. Spider-Ham bends cartoon logic and pulls anvils out of thin air. Gwen's world is a watercolor that shifts with her mood. When a character is ripped out of their universe, you watch them glitch. The wrong dimension literally rejecting their body. You never need a caption telling you a reality has changed, because the screen already told you.
Oh no. He's in the wrong universe.
The multiverse isn't described to you, it's rendered in front of you. Across pushed that even harder, building whole worlds like Mumbattan, a dense fusion of Mumbai and Manhattan with its own pace and color, and a spider society space that warps with depth and motion. You could freeze either film on a single frame and instantly know what universe you're looking at. Marvel can obviously stage spectacle. The action is enormous and the money is right there on the screen, but spectacle isn't the same as a distinct reality, and the MCU's multiverse is basically invisible. Every other universe it visits is the same version of New York, shot on the same kind of soundstage with a slightly different color grade. No Way Home pulls from multiple realities, and the biggest visual difference between them is a train running through the background. The endless creative possibility of infinite worlds gets reduced to portals that open into living rooms that look exactly like the ones you just left. A franchise about the multiverse should be the most visually adventurous thing in theaters. Marvel made it the most visually safe. A question versus a reset button. This is the one the MCU simply cannot answer, no matter how much it spends, because it's baked into how the two franchises think. Strip everything else away and ask what each multiverse is ultimately for. In Spider-Verse, the multiverse is a question. It exists to ask Miles whether he gets to decide who he becomes, or whether a story was already written for him by people who claimed no better. Every reality, every variant, every canon event serves that one question about fate and choice. The Infinity has a purpose. Now look at what the MCU's multiverse turned out to be for. Marvel spent 3 phases building the multiverse saga around one villain, Kang, the master of time and variance, who was supposed to tie the whole thing together. Then the actor was let go, and the entire architecture had to be ripped out mid-story. So Marvel swapped in Dr. Doom, brought back Robert Downey Jr. under a new mask, and is now steering everything towards Avengers Secret Wars, a film widely understood to be a reboot, a way to collapse the messy branching timelines the franchise spent years creating and start the board over clean. The multiverse, in other words, quietly became a management tool, a way to bring back dead actors, undo a casting disaster, fold in the X-Men, and hit a reset switch when the story gets too tangled to keep going. You can see the same instinct in the smaller pieces. Deadpool and Wolverine introduced anchor beams and incursions, whole universes crumbling into each other, and spent most of that energy resurrecting old Fox characters for a nostalgia victory lap. The machinery keeps getting more elaborate, while the reason behind it keeps shrinking. And the entire reset ultimately exists so the franchise can bring in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four with a clean slate. That is a business goal, wearing a story's clothes. That's the cleanest possible version of the gap. For Spider-Verse, the multiverse is a theme it's exploring. For the MCU, the multiverse is a mechanism it's operating. One franchise asks who gets to decide who you are. The other asks how we get everyone back on screen and clear the table for the next era. And you can't budget your way out of that, because the problem isn't execution, it's intent. The MCU reaches for the multiverse every time it needs to fix something.
Oh, it's just a standard spell of forgetting. Won't turn back time, but at least people will forget that you were ever Spider-Man.
Which is exactly why its multiverse never means anything. A reset button, by definition, erases stakes, because nothing matters if it can all be undone in the next event film. Spider-Verse would never use its multiverse to undo its own mistakes, because in Spider-Verse, the mistakes, the losses, the canon events are the entire point.
You break enough canon, save enough captains, and we could lose everything.
The real difference. So when people say Spider-Verse did the multiverse better, this is what they're actually responding to, even if they can't put it into words. It was never about animation versus live action, or one studio being smarter than the other. It's that one franchise understood a multiverse is only ever a mirror, pointed at a real idea about identity and choice and grief, and Infinity becomes the most powerful tool you have, pointed at a corporate problem, a casting issue, a continuity tangle, a list of faces fans want to see again, and Infinity just gives you an infinite ways to say nothing at all. Spider-Verse proves the opposite is possible, that you can hand a small, personal story an infinite canvas and make it feel more intimate instead of less, because the size of the idea was never what mattered. The honesty behind it was. The MCU has every resource Spider-Verse has and more. What it's missing is a reason, and until it finds one, no amount of variants or incursions or rebooted timelines is gonna fix that, because you cannot budget your way to meaning. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and watch this one next.